our little slide, everyone. And again, I appreciate your patience. And let me do that here. So I just want to welcome everyone to our first of what we are hoping will be many webinars to come, put on by Taking Back Our Freedom. So, I mean, part of our platform, our mission is to engage, educate, and empower. So this is the education component of our mission. And so we're starting off with this webinar on notices of liability. And, you know, again, as part of our hope to engage and bring to everybody's attention that we got here not by accident. And I think most of us at this point who are on the webinar tonight understand that 3 years ago, almost, all of our worlds turned upside down. And it's easy to look at it as being this incredible, weird thing that happened out of nowhere. But part of what we want to do is remind everybody that it wasn't out of nowhere, that we had this assumption that somehow government, we serve the government, and maybe we didn't even realize that's the way we were looking at it, but they serve us, and we need to remind them of that. So that's the empowerment component. Anyway, before we get into this any deeper, I will allow my beautiful colleague and patriot warrior in this fight against tyranny, Dr. Lana Nickel, to introduce herself.
Hello, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me. Give me a thumbs up if you can. I had some audio. Okay, beautiful. Lots of thumbs up. I like that. Okay, so I'm Dr. Lana Nickel, and I'm so thankful to be here with all of you guys here tonight. And for those of you guys watching the recording and maybe watching live, we are really excited, like Dominique said, to do this webinar and this notice of liability. You know, it has been something very dear to my heart that I've been working on for a very long time. Let me tell you. So just a little bit about me. I think someone's writing on the screen, which is fantastic. But
so Monica, if you could please stop, or we will eject you from our
no, she's writing on the screen. So
yeah. Go ahead, Lana. I'm going to stop the screen share for a minute, and we're going to ask.
Yeah. Please. For sure, no worries. So a little bit of background, you know, from me. So I live in Edmonton, and let's see, I am a mama of 4 young children ranging from age 4 through 12. And very thankful to meet some very amazing people that got together with Taking Back Our Freedom. So this is over a year ago now, and they asked if I would be a part of the organization. And with the different board of advisors we have, and the people and the caliber of people involved, and the big hearts and the no ego, I was like, I'm in. I'm in. So I've been working with Taking Back Our Freedoms, like I said, for over a year. And it has been an awful experience in the world, but amazing to have people like you and Taking Back Our Freedoms to lean on. You know, I will say that, right? This has been like, I don't know how many of you guys are just like, are we in the twilight zone here? What is going on? Yeah. So, you know, I've been fighting for choice, right? I'm very pro-choice. I am pro-science. I am pro-safety. I am pro-information. And so early into this whole thing, I really got this sense of like, hey, what can I do? What can I do personally to make a difference? And I'm sure many of you guys have thought that, like, what can I do, right? Well, everybody's voice matters, first of all. So I started speaking out, which was hard. And I'm sure if many of you guys have spoken out, you may have taken the severe backlash on that, right? Like with whether it's your family, your friends, online, whatever it is. But I started speaking out. So I've been speaking out all over.
Oops. Lana, can you unmute? Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. I got it. It's all good. So started speaking out all over Alberta, and then working with numerous groups. So one of the powerhouses I feel about Taking Back Our Freedoms is that we love to collaborate and work with lots of groups. And we honestly, I don't care who gets credit. We don't care who gets credit. We just want to make sure that our children are safe, that our children have a future, and that our children have a, you know, democracy and the beautiful country that we all know Canada to be. And I know we're all focused on that and working towards that. And we really love and want everybody to be protected. I think that's like, you know, why most of us are here. So I started thinking, you know, what can I personally do? I wanted to take some action. And that's where the notice of liability and cease and desist came from. So just to share the background very quickly on that, or I guess I could get into this in a minute, Dominique, when I start going over the notice of liabilities, but I'll share with that when we get into it. Okay. But just know that, like you, I was sitting here in almost like paralysis mode, potentially. I don't know if you experienced this, but I was like, what can I do? What difference can I make here? So that's where I got involved with some Alberta physicians and nurses, and we decided to come up with a plan, which I'm going to share with you shortly, and why it's so powerful. Okay. But just know I'm a fierce mama bear. I'm super pissed off. I want to protect my children. And I love my country, and I want to make sure that we have unity and we all come together in the Canadian spirit and the love that we're known for around the world. So that's as much as I'll say right now. Dominique will introduce her amazing self, and then we're going to get into the juice of it all. Go ahead, Dominique.
Thank you, Lana. So my name's Dominique Fournier. I am a mom of 7, a grandma to 3. And I have spent most of my life stay-at-home mom, teaching my kids as a homeschooler, and then helping my daughter teach my grandkids. That's been a big part of who I am, and why I ended up getting involved ultimately was because I watched what was going on around us and thought, this can't be actually happening. I can't believe that driving into downtown Calgary is like driving into, you know, Charlton Heston's Omega Man world. It all seemed very surreal. And I was quiet for a while, although not within our family. And then a group of us here in the foothills of Alberta decided to start local rallies, because we were finding a lot of people were feeling isolated and alone. They had no one to talk to. They felt like nobody else was going through what they were going through. And we were astounded at the number of people who turned out to our little foothills rallies. And from there, I met Roy Bear and George Bears, who are the founders, the co-founders of Taking Back Our Freedoms. And they came to talk to the community about this initiative that started off really as a movement to activate our politicians to start doing something for us, right? And reminding people that we as voters have the authority to go and talk to our politicians and say, you need to be doing something. What are you doing? And holding them accountable. Didn't take long before we realized that our mandate was far bigger than that. And that this, what we were living through, didn't just happen out of nowhere, but so many of us would go to the polls, would vote, and then would sit back and live our lives a little bit, I guess, not paying attention to the things that were going on around us over the past few decades. Well, these past almost 3 years snapped a lot of us to attention, and we realized we all need to become more engaged. Not everybody wants to engage at the political level. Not everybody wants to get involved with political parties and all of that, but everyone can do what we're going to talk about tonight, and that is get engaged with holding our representatives and anyone in authority accountable. Anyone can do it, and it's easy as pie. If someone like me, grandma and mom, can go and confront our city council, anybody can do it. And Meredith will talk to you a little bit about her experience as well, which is phenomenal. But that's a little bit about me. And then I guess we're going to talk now and start introducing the beginning of what all of this is. I gave you the background. What is an NOL? So now I'm going to try and share my screen. Hopefully nobody's going to scribble on it this time. It's kind of reminiscent of the very first Zoom meeting we ever had, where we got some scribblers. So
yes. Sometimes we have people who join us that, you know, they want to know what we're up to, but they're not necessarily on our team.
So I'm going to pass the floor off to Dr. Nickel, and she's going to talk to you a little bit about what will the notices of liability accomplish.
Okay, so I'm sure many of you have heard about notice of liability. There are other groups that have done notice of liabilities. There are, versions of the notice of liability, shorter forms, and they're wonderful. Okay, so I just want everybody to know I support all the groups that are trying to make effort, okay, and do things. They have made impact. Now, I mentioned before that I got together with some Alberta physicians and nurses because we really felt that it was critical.
What?
Can you mute Michael, Dominique?
Yes.
Awesome. So we felt that it was necessary to expand on the notice of liability and make it truly educational. Okay, now I have to tell you, I have many friends that are physicians and nurses, and if they're being honest with you, they have not studied much, if at all, vaccine science. Okay, they do not know the mechanisms, they do not know the adverse events. They basically follow protocols as outlined by their governing body, and they do as they're told. Okay, that's literally the truth, if they were being honest. Now, if a physician or nurse has had an experience where they, critically thinking something is not going right and they've investigated themselves, they've had to go and do that on their own. That's not something that came through their education. So when I came together with this group of very awake Alberta physicians and nurses, it was quite alarming to me because most of them were sharing their own stories of either their children or themselves being injured by vaccines in the past or what have you. So they started researching it themselves. So they're coming at this from a different angle. But you have to understand that most in mainstream are going to do what they're told. They're not asking questions and they're not educated on the topic. They're just doing the protocol. Does that make sense? So I felt that handing them a 2-page notice of liability did not actually serve them to educate them, to empower them, and hopefully prevent them from taking further action down this path, because they're in their own echo chamber. They're getting bombarded by the media. They're censored. There's a whole bunch of things happening. So we came together and decided that we are going to expand on the notice of liability idea and actually give them research, data, stats, and really outline what is happening in our country with the last few years of lockdown measures, masking mandates, the injections, and we're going to truly educate them. And then by the time we do that, okay, in the NOL, if you guys haven't seen it yet, the notice of liability, it has QR codes in it. I have packages here that are going out in the next few days. That's why I just whipped one out. But there is QR codes in here that will take them to databases and information such as Ken Drysdale's document. If you guys have heard about that, it's jam-packed full of Health Canada's own data and statistics. Yeah, Meredith is holding it up. She's actually printed that out and has delivered that document in addition to ours, which is phenomenal. This has Baer's data, it has Pfizer's own data, it is highly researched. Okay, we also had an attorney review this. Then we combined with a physicians group in British Columbia with their attorney, and they did a very powerful medical doctor and package and pharmacist package with kind of the same intent of trying to truly educate. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt that they actually don't know, right? That's what we're trying to do, love on them, and maybe they don't know, which I know is horrifying to even think, because how could they recommend something to us if they don't know what they're doing? Well, that's the whole idea of informed consent, you guys, has been completely violated for everybody in this situation. Everybody. People do not truly know the risks that were presented to them. And, my heart absolutely just breaks for people who thought that they could trust the physicians and the health professionals and public health, people in authority that were telling us that we needed to do this and it was safe and effective and all the things, right? And we just got it slammed down our throats. Well, they did not have informed consent. No one has. We're in an experiment. No one has that. It's been violated. So the package educates them. And it, like I said, it's jam-packed full of info. Then it says, now that you've been educated, you need to be aware that you may be complicit of crimes. And it's pretty heavy duty with the cease and desist. It's got some teeth, and it lists off Canadian Criminal Code. It lists off Nuremberg, war crimes, and Canada is a part of the International Torture Act. And so there's, you know, a lot of information to basically say, like, you better choose right now. And at the end, it also does list a document on Action for Canada, which is a document they can fill out to stop participating, and they can send it to their premier and you know, and whatever organization they work with. Let's say they're in a hospital, or they're, you know, a part of a union, or a part of some, you know, some group that has mandated these things for people, that they're going to stop participating. Okay, so it's an important piece. But this is heavy duty, and it definitely is an eye opener. But it's not just a 2 to 3 page of legal stuff. It is meant to truly educate, inform, and then let's have a call on their soul. Okay, so that was the point of the notice of liability. And I just wanted to share that because some people have shared, well, you know, I've done a notice of liability and nothing happened. And I understand that. Okay, it doesn't mean that nothing happened. Hopefully you're planting seeds that make them stop and go, what is going on here? But this is so much more in depth with education and actual data, and then a call for them to be aware that they may be personally responsible. And that's very important. Okay, very important. And we're going to show you exactly how to find this document, how to serve it, what to do. Okay, and it's very simple. and Meredith will even tell you how simple it is. And like Dominique said, she's served it, I've served it, continue to serve it. There's a few different ways to do so, but it is making a big impact, and we're going to share that as well. Okay, so Dominique, do you want to go ahead on to the next slide? So if you want, here's a QR code that's going to take, and oh, don't you just hate QR codes? If you're like me, I hate them. They're really great for information though, and never for people. Right? So they are powerful. So you can go to this QR code and it will take you to our website, takingbackourfreedoms.ca. So TBOF.ca. And when you land on the homepage, you're going to be encouraged to sign up for a newsletter. So we encourage you to stay connected with us. We will have future webinars. You know, we've surveyed our amazing people who support TBOF on topics that are very important to them and what they would like to be educated on. And we're going to have future webinars. But so just sign up with us. You can also hear about the National Citizens Inquiry and other things that are happening, different campaigns. So you'll sign up there. Then if you go on the top of the website here, there's a take action button. Okay, click on the take action and it gives you a drop down menu. You're going to go to informed consent package. It's right there. Okay, you click on informed consent package and it starts to give you incredible information about why you would serve, you know, a notice of a liability. What is informed consent? You know, why is this whole campaign critical? You're also going to see a little bit of, do you see our little fun superhero? Dominique, do you want to explain Jane Does for a minute?
I would love to talk about Jane Does. Although technically Lana should have more bragging rights than me, but I'm going to brag a little bit about her. She is a joint cooperative birth, I think is the proper word for her. She is loosely based off of Lana's 12-year-old daughter, who is herself a freedom fighter in her own right. And a group of us who are kind of working behind the scenes, not really connected to anyone, are coming up with initiatives, and Jane Does is one of them. And she is a spokesperson for freedom. She's around 12 years old, and she's got a lot of fire in her belly to invite people to join her to fight for a voice, not only for ourselves, but for her generation and younger. She really is that voice of our children. And those of us here who are mamas and grandmas know that rumble in our belly to fight, a lot of it has to do with the fact that we feel compelled that we need to ensure that we safeguard the future for our children. And so Jane is there to invite those who may not necessarily feel ready to say, hey, if I can do it, you can too. So she's our spokesgal. And I'll let Lana continue on with the explanation of this page.
Thanks, Dom. Yeah, and she's near and dear to our heart. And just so you know, she's faceless. And some people are like, why is she faceless? Well, here's the cool part, because she's everyone and she's no one. She's you, she's me, she's everybody. And soon there's going to be a really cool release of Jane with Faces of Canadians. Okay, and her campaign that's coming out, and she's going to be supporting many groups across Canada. They tried to steal superheroes from us, so we created our own Canadian superhero. So she, just so you know, she's coming and she's supporting lots of different groups. So the first part on the website is information about the informed consent package. Okay, it's kind of the details. Now, where things get really juicy and we want to show you here is the take action part. You guys see that? Step 2, take action. If you click on the informed consent package and how to guide, okay, if you click on that, you're going to see a few little drop downs here. Now, the first one is a brochure that Jane is sharing with you exactly how to serve this notice of liability. Okay, it's a step-by-step, exactly what to do. You can print this out if you would like. We have printed out and folded it trifold. We've given it out at events. People take it like you wouldn't believe because they're like, perfect. Now I know exactly what to do. Okay, so you can, and of course it's here digitally, but we just wanted to share this with you. And so if we scroll down, it gives the actual steps to serving. Okay, so here you go. It's these simple steps. First thing, you're going to decide who you want to serve. So let me just share with you, you have to name names. This cannot go to a business, a corporation. You have to pick somebody. So whether it's your pediatrician, your principal, your superintendent, your local pharmacist, your MLA, your MP, your religious leader, your local, RCMP office, whatever, you have to name a person. And maybe it's your supervisor at your job who was giving you a hard time or telling you had to do this, right? But you must name names. So decide who you're going to deliver the package to. Now, we just shared with you, go to TBOF and download the package and script. We're going to show you that in a second. You're already on TBOF right now. Okay. We encourage everybody to read through the document so you know what you're delivering. Okay. Read it, print it, and we're going to show you that just in a second where you do that. And you fill it out.
I just wanted to mention really quickly, Nana, for those of you who still aren't sure how to explain an NOL, this is a great little synopsis on this pamphlet just to familiarize yourself with some of the really simple language on how to explain what an NOL is to people who ask and what informed consent is. So if you're trying to, you're looking for words, you're not sure what to say, we've kind of really did a concise, to the point definitions here. So again, just for your own use as well, not only to deliver. So there you go.
Perfect. Thanks, Dominique. And so if you can click on the brochure one more time, Dominique, and then we're just going to quickly show the steps because I do think it's really important. And so 3, you're going to read, you're going to print this and fill it out. Now, the awesome thing is you just have to fill out the first page with a date and the name. That's it. That's all you have to do. One spot. Okay. Now, step 4. If you're going to serve someone in person, we recommend that you find a buddy. One, it's so much easier to go with someone that can maybe videotape if they allow it, or you can just videotape yourself. I've seen Meredith doing that where just she is being videotaped and not the person on the other side of the counter, let's say, because some people are very against that, right? So we acknowledge that and we are aware of that, but if you can record it, please do, okay? Now, the buddy also not only is a support, but they're also a witness. They're a witness to your serving. So that's a very important piece.
Oh.
So that's if you're going to do it in person. Now you can also do it registered mail. So I mentioned, so this is going to be going to Canada Post. And I just fill it out, that first page, and then I stick it in an envelope, and then I fill out Canada. They gave me a stack because I told them I was going to be doing about 600 of them in Alberta. So they gave me a whole thing for registered mail. And then that is for sure on record and tracked with Canada Post that it's delivered to the person. Very important. Okay. So those are basically the 2 options. Now there's other ways to deliver it too, like Dominique, right? You can deliver it live stream on video to your city council meeting. Again, naming names of every single person that's going to get handed one. Okay. I'm going to do that soon with the Edmonton Public School Board. I serve the Edmonton Police with a group of about 100 people behind me. So again, just name names and have a witness or do it registered mail. Okay, step 5, be kind and embrace Canadian spirit. I think Meredith is a great example of this. Like, you're going in there not with any sort of, you may feel angry about everything that's happened. You may feel very, passionate about what's happened, and we totally get that. I've gone through that. But our idea here is to be kind and have unity and really truly educate them and make sure that that you're coming from a place of love and compassion and Canadian spirit, because we just want this to stop. That's the bottom line, right? And usually, what is that saying? You attract more bees with honey. If you go in aggressive, it's not going to go well, right? You may be ejected from someplace. So be firm, be strong, but then, be kind. And then the step 6 is, once you've actually served the person, okay, we have on our website on TBOF.ca a place where you can put in the name of the person who was served, so that we can keep a record and track this for future potential actions. All right. So very important. And that's literally the steps. That's how you do it. All right. The other thing we have on here for resources, we actually put together a script. So Dominique and I worked on this before she served the Okotoks City Council. You feel free to use a similar script if you'd like. Okay. But make it your own. It doesn't have to be long. And and if you're serving it by registered mail, there's no script. They just receive it. Okay. And then we have a follow-up message. We do encourage people to follow up with the people that they've served, whether it's by email or phone call or in person, and ask them, did you read the document? And can you share with me what you learned? What actions you're taking? Okay. So there's a follow-up message right there for you to make it easy. Now, underneath, you'll actually see the notice of liability. Sorry, one more spot, Dominique, because I just want to show the, so the actual printing of the document. This is very important. Do you see we have provinces listed here? So British Columbia, Alberta, Ontario. Now, we are going to add one more button, and I'm going to explain this in just a second, because if you're not in those 3 provinces, you might be like, well, what? I'm in Manitoba, so what's going on here? Okay, we are going to add the notice of liability for all Canadians. Okay, so we'll get this added in the next, we'll have it there by tomorrow. I have no doubt. Okay, reason being is that document alone can be used to serve anyone across the country. It's been written that way. Okay, the reason why we have these specific provinces listed on here is they are actually specific to those provinces in regards to adverse events reporting for physicians and any healthcare provider in those provinces. Okay, so very specific. That's why that's there. Every province is a little bit different in their requirements for healthcare providers to legally report adverse events. So like, in British Columbia, for instance, if a physician doesn't report an adverse event, it can be a major fines, okay, and or jail time. Alberta is different. Ontario is different. Quebec is very different. So as we have our attorneys work through the different provinces, because they have to be highly researched and we put it all together, we will add those provinces as we get that info, okay? But the notice of liability stands on its own as well, and it will be there for everybody to use, okay? So just to explain. And then, so once you've served someone, there's this intake, this little complete the intake form is just where you report that this person specifically has been served. Now we have other groups that we have been working with. So just to share with you guys, we have, here's the report form. So you just added in recipients info, and it's now being recorded and tracked for future potential actions. Okay, so that's what that is. But we have other groups that we've been working with as well, you guys, such as Stand United BC. We love and adore them. They picked up our notice of liability first and put it into a package, and they've been absolutely incredible at sending it out through grassroots efforts. They've had 8 different provinces involved, where all on one day at the same time, we all served the police stations. Okay, so we went and served specific officers. They received that. RCMP, same thing. They have done incredible work getting the word out. We had Unity Health Sciences. They're a part of our document, so you can go and look at their website as well. It's unitymovement.ca. and they all have a place where you can record where, you know, the people that you've served the document. Okay, so absolutely phenomenal. And again, love working with all these different groups. And we're so thankful they took on our notice of liability. So I'm going to pass it back to Dominique. She's going to just show you guys and talk with you and show you a little video of her incredible actions. And then we're going to talk with Meredith soon here too. So go ahead, Dom.
So just really quickly, I don't know how many of you here may or may not have seen this. I'll play it for you real quick. It was when this document came out, a group of us decided, because in our little town of Okotoks, our very woke town of Okotoks, everything, there were QR codes to get into the local rec center. There was masking all over the place. And so when this package came into being, a group of us said, we have to deliver these to our town council. But several of us had already presented cases about the Constitution when they tried to shut down the rallies, the local rallies and community events. We went and we confronted them, and we knew that they were recorded. So we thought, what a great opportunity. We don't have to bring a little camera in. We don't have to make appointments. We just slyly went into the open council meeting, didn't even have to tell them what we were presenting. We just wanted to come and address the council. And this was the result.
Dominique Fournier, if I got that right, Fournier and Bridget Blaze, if you guys can come up front, introduce yourself and provide the area of town that you reside in. And as you heard me explain before, you've been here before, 5 minutes, and then any questions that council may have after that.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, Mayor Thorne and councillors. My name is Dominique Fournier. I'm here with my friend Bridget Blais. I'm from Crystal Ridge area, and Bridget is from Cimarron. Bridget's going to bring you each an envelope right now, and I'll explain to you a little bit of what's in the envelope. In each envelope is each document in the envelope is addressed to each and every one of you personally. These documents contain scientific research from CDC, Pfizer, Moderna, VAERS and CARES, expert virologists, epidemiologists, respiratory specialists, lawyers, psychologists, as well as references to the Canadian Charter, legal precedents, and the Nuremberg Code outlining laws that have been broken during the last 2 years. On page 3, under your name, you will note the statement, notice to agent is notice to principal, and notice to principal is notice to agent. This statement means that this notice obliges you to share this letter and the contents of this package with every person above and below you in your chain of authority within your workplace. It is incumbent upon you to provide the information contained herein to any person requesting information from you on the topic of the vaccinations, masking, and rapid testing so that they may make informed decisions. By supplying you with this information, we hope to ensure that what we all lived over the past 2 years will not happen again. We hope you take the time to read through the documents and familiarize yourself with the information enclosed. It is a notice of liability and is the first step in the process to ultimately hold accountable all those who created and implemented unlawful mandates and those who accepted them and administered them in their establishments. Part of this NOL is a reminder to those in authority of the existence and definition of informed consent. For those who do not know, informed consent is an ethical and legal principle that ensures our autonomy and right to make decisions regarding our health, which must be free of undue influence, duress, or coercion in making the decisions. Its purpose is to affirm a person's rights to determine what happens to their bodies, and it upholds your duty to provide enough information to make an informed decision. Consent must be voluntary, given by someone with the capacity to consent, given by a person who is properly informed, and freely given. Our courts have reaffirmed repeatedly our right to refuse treatment, even when it is clear treatment that is necessary to preserve our life or health. When explaining the consequences of refusal, those who are explaining those consequences must not create a perception of coercion in seeking consent. Now, the reason why we present these packages with you today is because you are all here to serve the community. You have all been elected as individuals who, in one way, shape, or form, are here to somehow and in some way safeguard our communities. We believe it is imperative that you have all information, not selective information. So we plead with you to take the time to look at these documents. They're QR codes that will take you to research that is valid, world-recognized information. Please have a look. Feel free to contact us if you have any questions whatsoever, and we welcome any questions right now. That's all we have for today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions from council?
And crickets.
I am seeing none. So thank you for being here and providing that information.
Sorry, it still absolutely astounds me that there were no questions. None. No one had any questions whatsoever.
Mhm. Doesn't surprise me either, though, because
No.
when people are also being shared information that they may be personally responsible, for some, it's like shocking information. And we do address that in the document as well. We just say to people that you may not even realize that you could be held personally responsible. So therefore you need to know what you may be complicit in. So that was awesome. Thank you, Dominique and Brigitte, for doing that. That video went viral, which is awesome. We have on here. So the call to action, you guys, is to go serve someone. Can you imagine if each of us just did one? It would be so powerful, let alone multiple, right? You know, we have an Alberta campaign right now. That's why we have that on there. We are serving a list of over 600 people in the province. So MLAs, MPs, like I said, religious leaders. We have anchors of all the mainstream media, the directors of mainstream media, every single superintendent of Catholic and public school boards. Like, we are on a mission to blanket this province, and we encourage everybody else to do the same. You know, we've had Grand Prairie City Council served, the Calgary and Edmonton police, all the bishops across Canada have been served. Just so you know, the entire Senate of Canada has been served. Western University Students Against Mandates used our document, and there's a grassroots effort across the country to make an impact, and it is making a massive difference. So just even if you do one, right? And I'm telling you, once you do one, you get like this feeling of like, I am making a difference. I was at a meeting just a couple weeks ago with our brand new premier, Danielle Smith, and she was, roundtable meeting people. I went and introduced myself, told her who I was, and I said, I know this isn't maybe the best opportune time, but I am serving you with a notice of liability and an educational document from Alberta Physicians and Nurses, and to expose you to your potential personal responsibility. Do you know that she was so appreciative and said, keep doing this, keep educating people, and she took the document. So you just need to do one. Everybody do one, or do like 30 and 40 like Meredith has done. So it really is going to open up dialogue. I really believe that this is going to unite people. We need justice for our vaccinated people who were completely coerced into these decisions, in exchange and threatened for their employment and their livelihoods. People that blindly trusted people in authority. Like, we need to stand for them. So I am so excited that we have an amazing person on here that we're going to we got to meet Meredith, and she actually came on our TBOF Canada Connect call, earlier in the summer, just sharing her story of being vaccine injured. And her story is so powerful, and what she has done personally to protect every single one of us is unbelievable. So I'm so excited she's here. She's just a champion, an absolute champion for all Canadians. So Meredith, if you can unmute and just give people a little background about who you are, where you live, tell a little bit about your story, and then we'll talk with them about what you've been up to with this campaign.
Well, first of all, I'd like, excuse me, to say thank you very much for having me, and thank you very much for all of the hard work that you have done. I mean, this package is absolutely incredible. It just encompasses so much. And I love that you included the update with Janine Small's testimony in the European Union, because of course that was one of the big things, you know, do it to save grandma. Right. And so just thank you very much, and keep doing what you're doing. I am so very, very proud of you. So anyway, my name is Meredith, and I am vaccine injured. I don't really think that's the appropriate way to term it. I would put it as experimental gene therapy injured, or as I'm actually choosing to call it now, a bioweapon. I am going to basically call it what it is. I've had some incredible, I've been one of the luckier ones. I'm able to speak about my injuries, and I've been able to get some help. And I mean, I'm not going to go through my whole story. If people want to go back and look at the Canada Connect podcast that I did, it was, I believe it was June 29th. It was before James Top came. I will never forget it. What an honor that was. And it has been just a year of over a year now. My injury started, I had my second dose on Friday the 13th of August of 2021. And it was not something I had any intention of doing. My gut told me no. But unfortunately, I was still watching the news, and I made there was a fateful luncheon, I will refer to it, and a woman who I referred to as a second mom, who had been there sort of by my side, supporting me ever since my mom died. And, you know, I don't believe there was any malice intended. However, the pressure that she put on me was horrendous. I would not wish that on anybody. And to the point where she made me second guess myself. And I made a huge, huge, huge mistake. And I'm suffering the consequences now, even 16 months later. Sorry, and I apologize if you saw me popping a bunch of pills. I'm not a drug addict, anybody. It's part of my protocol. So,
Yeah.
I just, you know, it's been a year of education. I say that I have learned almost more in the last year than I did in my entire academic career, because everything, you know, I always knew there was a level of corruption in government, but, you know, at high levels, you pictured it in you know, far off lands, you know, South America, African nations, things like that, you know, things that were sort of shown over the course of our lives. But to think that that existed here in Canada and in the, you know, the quote unquote Western democracies, I was just shocked. So, I mean, any faith I had in government is gone. Any faith I had in the medical establishment, the traditional medical establishment, is gone. I have questions about a number of law enforcement. You know, we all know what we witnessed in Ottawa during the Freedom Convoy.
Yeah, it's fair to say that like trust has been broken on so many levels. And I feel like, you know, heard Dr. Hodkinson speak many times that trust is the glue that keeps any relationship together, right? And any community together. And we've trusted people to protect us. We've trusted people to look out for us. And that trust has been violated on almost every level possible. And it is shocking that it's happened in Canada. I never would have thought that this would happen in our beautiful country, never in a bazillion years.
No.
So that's why it's also incredibly important, though, that we can't just forget, right? As we're supposedly coming out the other side of the, you know, COVID stuff. The reality is this agenda is far bigger. So it's just being transferred into other ways of control. So we must hold people accountable to us, the citizens. We must, because if we don't, this will happen again, and it may happen again sooner than we think. So it's very critical, but that trust has been absolutely violated. You're right. So Meredith, share with us. So you thought you got compelled to take action, right? And to use your voice, even though you've had this, bioweapon injury, but you tell us what you've been doing in your town, because it's phenomenal.
Well, it's interesting. Before I was even aware of this document, and I'm not sure when you put it out, Dr. Lana, but back in, I believe it was May, my husband and I, because of course in my own research, I found all sorts of different places, and one of my sources of information is the World Council for Health, which, as far as I'm concerned, should take over from the WHO, but that's my opinion. And they had a cease and desist letter. And we took it to our nearest pharmacy and served it to the pharmacist. And I said to him, my husband taped it, and I said to him, I said, like, you do realize that what you're doing is in violation of the Nuremberg Code and the Helsinki Declaration. His response to me, I can live with that. I was floored. I mean, floored, disgusted, just, it was unbelievable. I have come to learn he has left. He is no longer a practicing pharmacist. So whether what we did had any impact on that, I don't know. But to these documents, I mean, that was just a small, 2-page. It was not nearly as informative as this was. So the first thing we did, we actually started, and it was, we started with the Ken Drysdale's criminal investigation package, and we served it to the Brantford Police. I'm in Brantford, Ontario. And then we went out to the OPP station, which is sort of a Paris address. And we've got, I have to say, there is an amazing group of people here in town. The support that I have received doing this it's just been absolutely incredible. And it was interesting. Of course, we didn't get right to the chief, but we had a constable come out and meet with us, and I gave my spiel, and it was taped, and I don't, of course, I reviewed the script, but I don't go in, I do it, but then I also throw in my own pieces of information, just depending on maybe what I've been reading at the time, or I've learned at the time, and things. Because one that's been very impactful too, that I just show them while I'm giving it, is Dr. Mackis's letter to the CMA with the photos of the 80, which I believe is now up to 93, which is probably up even more now, physicians that have passed since the bioweapon rollout. But so we delivered to the Brantford City Police. We went out to the OPP, and keep in mind, there was probably about 8 of us. 6 of us were women, 2 were men, and the OPP would not come out and meet with us because they were concerned for their safety, which in a way, in hindsight, worked out well, because I ended up making arrangements for a sergeant who came down from the West Division headquarters in London to meet with us. He actually spent well over an hour, delayed a meeting to continue discussing what was going on. So it was a I feel they listened. I have to admit, I do still have to follow up, but we just kind of got on a roll. And as I say, I kind of am at a bit of a struggle, a crossroads, because I'm having to balance, as I say, my physical needs with my moral needs.
Yes, but you've been doing amazing work, Meredith. So
well,
it's absolutely unbelievable.
Thank you.
Can you quickly share about what you've been doing with the pharmacies as well? Just real quick.
Yep, we have done, so we served a total of 31 of them. And we have done every single pharmacy that has been administering the bioweapons in Brantford and in Paris. And, most of the responses, they just kind of stand very stoically and listen to you. And again, I go in with the assumption that this is new information. I've had it where other members of our group have interjected and gotten a little bit heated, and it has not gone well. And so I've said, see, please, just, I appreciate it. I understand. Trust me, I am probably more angry than you are. But this is not how this is going to go. And you're right. You do get more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. So You know, for the most part, it's people have received it. We did actually have one pharmacist confess his wife has been having skin problems ever since she had hers. And we had another pharmacist who asked us to stay because he had to step away for a minute because he wanted to continue the conversation. He lost his 35-year-old best friend after his first dose of Moderna. So for the most part, they've been relatively well received. We did have the police called once, but that was because of a customer, and had nothing to do, nothing happened. We were fine. And again, I would say 95% of them have been videotaped. So we have evidence and witnesses and things. But I have to say the best one, when we were serving in Paris, there were only 4 pharmacies that were doing it. And the last one that we went to, and lucky us, the pharmacies in that town, were a few of them had been robbed at gunpoint on the very day that we were doing this. She was like, oh, great. So we had to knock on the door. Their door was locked, and she came out and she told us what was happening. Okay, everybody okay? All right, fine. Is there a chance we could speak with the pharmacist? And she looked at me and she said, I know why you're here. She said, we've seen your videos. We are no longer giving the shots.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah, Meredith sent that to me, and I've been watching her lives on Facebook of serving. So you guys, like, one pharmacy heard about what they're doing. They knew about the document. They knew that they were coming, like they, anticipating this because they knew this was happening, and they chose to stop. I think they said a couple weeks previous, right? They
Yes.
chose to stop the
Yeah.
COVID injections. So that's a massive win right there. Like, how many lives have been saved potentially, from lifelong damage or worse, right? It's amazing. So this is one person, Meredith, and you have a group of incredible, Geraldine, like, you have incredible people who have been joining you, and that matters too. That personal support is fantastic, but she's one person. So if you ever think that, well, I'm just one person and I can't make a difference. Okay. Remember, have you guys ever been in a tent with a mosquito? Mosquitoes are tiny little things that make a big difference. So you can plant the seeds that cause something like that to happen. So I just encourage everybody to, be like Meredith, find your courage and go serve it. And again, you don't even have to do it in person. You can say serve it by registered mail. And it doesn't even have to, your name doesn't even have to be on it. Okay. But they're going to get an educational piece that will hopefully wake them up and could be used for future legal proceedings. Okay, so Meredith, we can't thank you enough. Your story is heartbreaking. I've heard, your story, and we've been in lots of communication and stuff. And, I just send you healing and love. But thank you for being a voice for people that, don't have a voice or are scared to speak out. You've been an absolute champion. So big love to you. And again, thanks for sharing your story tonight, and for everybody who is going to see the recording. So we can't wait to hear the next updates of who you serve next. So
I'd love Meredith, if you can, stick around in case anybody has any questions to ask you at the end once we wrap up. And I just like to point out too, this is about changing, and I'm going to quote Jody Ledgerwood, one of our dear freedom fighters in Toronto, the power of one, right? It just takes one voice to then trickle to another voice. And then, the ripple effect, it is so true. And sometimes we feel like you're one voice crying out in the wilderness and no one's there to hear you. But it's amazing, if nothing else, the sense of, I've done something. I have one girlfriend who went around our town. They served 8 pharmacies that day, and she was terrified. She doesn't like public speaking. She doesn't like speaking out. She came with me to a number we delivered to our school boards together. She came with me. She was there delivering the NOL. She didn't want to speak, but when she walked away from 1 or 2 of the pharmacies, and she texted me, she goes, I feel like I've actually done something. My voice, I found my voice. So if each of us can share that with someone, all of us finding our voice and recognizing that we have the capacity to affect change, and we don't need bulldozers, we don't need flamethrowers, we need a voice, and we need to be willing to stand for truth. And if nothing else, if this affects nothing else, it can do at least that. And that's a lot. So anyway.
And I will add that our children and our grandchildren are watching us. So I know at the end of the day, I'm going to be able to look at my children in the eye and let them know that I did everything I could to stand for them and to protect them, because they're coming for our kids. Let's be honest. What's that saying? Like, they're coming for our children. We have to be in the way. We have to be in the way. So again, thank you, Meredith, so much. And we're going to answer questions. We're getting there soon. Dominique, do you want to share screen one more time? And awesome. So we're just going to tie this up with a few like little things here. You know, again, we've been sharing that the idea of these notice of liabilities are also a very important part of the next steps. Okay, so some people are frustrated. They're like, well, that doesn't even, I've heard people say that doesn't hold any legal water, that they, you know, but they do. They actually do, because now it's on record that they were warned, they were educated, and if they continue to do things, that is hard evidence against them. So there will be future things, such as a national citizens inquiry. So if you guys haven't heard, this is already in action. This is happening in the new year. This is exciting. Here's the QR code so that you can go to the nationalcitizensinquiry.ca website. There are many groups across the country uniting to make this happen. This will take you to a petition so that you can sign. We want Canadian support. Okay, share this with your friends. Very important. Every Canadian deserves to know with transparency what has happened over the last few years. We deserve that, every single one of us. There has been unprecedented things happen, businesses ruined, lives ruined, people banished from society. You know, the level of mental illness and suicide and all the things that have come out of this, domestic violence, like child abuse, like it's enormous. Our kids were not in school. They were forced to put breathing barriers on their face at a detriment to their socialization and their educational development. They now have, many kids have social anxiety now, and that should never have happened. So we deserve to have that transparency and to know exactly what happened. Okay, so we're asking everybody to get involved. You can volunteer. The Citizens Inquiry is an independent inquiry. We're not going to have the government investigate the government. That's like the stupidest thing we've ever heard. We've already seen the Emergency Act, and you know, that was just a bunch of theater because they're not able to be unbiased. So we have commissioners and we're looking for more commissioners that can provide a unbiased, okay, and very educated awareness of what's going on so that we can see both sides. We deserve to know both sides, right? And this will be under oath, cross-examined, and this is citizen-led, like I said, citizen-funded. So this is going to be expensive, but if we all pitch in, we got this. And we're going to go through different provinces. We're going to go out east, and then we're going to move west. And so keep an eye on the website. And if you go to the website and sign up, you'll get all the future updates. Okay, TBOF will keep you updated as well, but you'll get it actually from the National Citizens Inquiry. And you can also suggest commissioners. And like we said, volunteers, we need volunteers. Okay, very important. So the notice of liabilities are a step in this whole thing, as are testimonies of people that have been, you know, vaccine injured or lost their business or coerced, or there's so many stories, you guys, out there. We are gathering those stories for the inquiry. Okay, so, and here, if you're able to donate even $5, right, $10, whatever it is, if you have bigger potential donations or businesses that you know that can donate, here's a QR code for the National Citizens Inquiry to actually donate. Okay, but you guys, bottom line, let's just take some action. Just do one. And once you do one, you're going to want to do more. I promise you. Okay. And like I said, even if it's registered mail, this is like, that's great too. I'm doing a ton of registered mail right now, like you wouldn't believe. And I'm on a mission. So we're going to open it up now. Thank you all for being patient, for going through the website with us, for understanding why this is so critical, why it's different, and hearing the stories of impact, because you guys, it's having impact. You know, we have no idea if the mandates at Western University were dropped because of our package. We'd like to think that it helped, you know, but we don't know. But great that it was used, right? Meredith is making impact in the pharmacies. We're all over it. So please join us in doing and taking action. Okay, so why don't we open it up? If you can just unmute or put it in the chat. I know there are a few questions in the chat, and Dominique, Meredith, and myself will do our best to answer. Okay, does anyone want to go ahead?
So does anybody know how to use the little icon at the bottom to put your hand up, or you can just put your hand up in your screen, however it works, if you have any questions. So I think Eileen, so Eileen posted here, please, please, please support my nomination of Jody Wilson-Raybould as Commissioner of the NCI. I think that's a great nomination. So anybody who reads that, who would like to support that, you can go and do that on their website. Does anybody have any other questions?
There's one in the chat. I can see too. It says, has the NOL been served at the churches? So we have served the bishops of Canada, so the Catholic bishops and the Anglican bishops by name, okay, because they're like north and south in pretty much each province. And so that has been served. Now, in regards to individual churches, we're going to ask our communities to do that. So you need to give it to the pastor, to the priest. You need to name them, and they absolutely need to be named because they were a part of this as well. Okay, and if you're hesitant, like, you know, you can even serve people that you think are aware, because they need to know all the information as well. But there are many that are not aware. If they close their doors to the people that they serve, they seriously need this, because they were a part of it too. They're compromised. So we're going to ask everybody to take that on. Think of how many churches there are in a single community.
Yeah, and I'd like to just add that, you know, sometimes people are reluctant to serve because, well, but they've been on the side of freedom and they've done good things. And I'll just give you a couple of examples. One, you know, people are really excited about Danielle Smith, and Lana had no qualms whatsoever in serving her because, again, it's not a punishment. This is an information package, right? And if someone has done nothing and they've not supported the mandates, they've not pushed any false information, then they have nothing to be afraid of a notice of liability, because this is then simply more information in their toolkit when they're going out and talking to people. One of our town councilors came to a rally and actually asked us to resubmit, like reserve her publicly. And she said, I will be taking these and reading it with a fine-tooth comb. And I guarantee you, I will ensure that each and every other town councilor is completely familiar with this information. Yeah. So this is not just to serve to people who have committed crimes, who have pushed mandates. This is for anyone and everyone. If they don't have a ton of information, if they're looking for more information, they can all be served. So Zoom user, I don't know what your name is, but your hand is up. Go for it. Ask your question.
This might be me.
Yeah, it is.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
sorry, I had to borrow. Anyways, so it's Mel from Saskatchewan. And hi, thank you. Such a great, informative talk. Thank you so much. Just a couple questions, because we did some NOLs in Saskatchewan about a year ago. And what I was just wondering is, when we serve them, do we serve with their name and not the professional title? That's what we were instructed to do. And I just wanted to clarify with this one.
You want their name specifically, but it doesn't matter if they have a doctor something, you can put that too.
Okay, and maybe that's just iterations or whatever. We were instructed then, if you're like Dr. like Jane Doe, you would say Jane Doe, because you're serving them personally, which I'm assuming, as I'm connecting dots in my mind right now, it's because they're personally liable. Now, whether that was just learning, I just wanted to just get into a little bit of the weeds.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to change the impact or the potential legal action, because it's kind of like having Miss or Mr. It's still the person, it's their name. So for instance, this one says Rachel Notley, MLA. Right?
Okay.
So that part doesn't actually matter. It's fine. It's just have their name specifically. Yeah, you just can't name like Walmart pharmacy. You cannot do that. You have to name the person. So if you need to get it right when you're there, like, can I please get your name and write it down? That's fine too. Yep.
Okay, thank you. And then if I can just do one quick follow-up to that, if just in the whole idea of like serving them, is it enough if we were to, if we can't serve them in person and we send it registered mail, do we just keep our receipt and just go, okay, we've got the receipt for the registered mail, should we need it later, versus being able to like videotape it?
Yeah, you would. So keep any record that you have. So if it's a registered mail, you're going to put their name on the website on TBOF.ca, right? And in that form that we have created, and then keep whatever proof that you have. So like, for instance, I did not videotape me serving the premier, Danielle Smith, just because there was a lot going on and I went alone and I had people at my table. But guess what I did? I got every single person's name at the table who witnessed me serving, and I have their phone number because it's
brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries. Any other questions?
Any other questions? I'm an echo.
Oh, someone did ask earlier, would it be possible to get the PNG images emailed to us after the fact to refer back to when mentoring others? Oh, was that for the Jane, like how to serve? Was that the pamphlet you're talking about? Is that right?
Or are you looking for the slideshow? Whoever asked that question.
It was Eileen.
Is Eileen still there? Slideshow, Eileen says. I am happy if you pop your email in the chat. I am happy to send you the slideshow, Eileen.
Perfect. And we're going to make sure that this recording gets put on as one of the resources with the informed consent package. So if someone is, unsure of how to start, it's one more resource that they have there. Not only do they have the pamphlet, like the brochure to tell them what to do exactly, they have Dominique's video, right? We'll put up more resources. We should put up some of Meredith's Facebook lives. It's so awesome. But we'll put this video so you could actually grab the link and send it to a friend, so they can have a little instructional guide of how to serve a notice of liability and why.
Excellent. And then if you guys want to just have a quick peek in the chat, I put up a interview that took place today by Susan Stanfield of Premier Peckford on the National Citizens Inquiry when it took place. So please feel free to go and view that. It should be up on our website by tomorrow. So you can also access it there. But yeah, feel free to have a look. He kind of breaks down how it was, who inspired it, and how it'll work and why it's so important relative to, for example, if anybody here took the time sticking needles in their eyeballs watching the Emergency Act inquiry, because that was super fruitful. And we know that the government is really good at holding itself accountable. So this was one of the big reasoning behind having a citizens inquiry, citizen-led, citizen-funded, and citizen-stored. This information will be stored in perpetuity. So even if 20 years from now, all of a sudden a lawsuit comes out, there will be evidence there stored for people to access. And because there are going to be commissioners of oath, people will have to take an oath. So this is legal data they will be able to access. Really important to remember. And just a couple of other things. I know now there is a class action suit going on in BC currently, and Chris Scott and Carrie Lambert will be joined by Leighton Gray. They have a class action suit that they are taking up against Pfizer. So any data that is stored from the Citizens Inquiry, any data that we have from our NOLs that come up, that can be used in these class action suits. So really, there's so many different ways this information can be used.
Awesome. Okay, well, if there isn't any more questions, we want to thank all of you who took the time to be with us tonight. Thank you, Meredith, for being here and sharing your amazing story. Dominique, you know, you lovely ladies are warriors, but we need more people being warriors and going out to unite our country and really stand up and be in the way for the children and for each other. You know, it's one of the beautiful things about Canadians. We are known worldwide for our neighborly love. And do we ever need it more than ever? And this is a way to stand up for those who are scared to speak, can't speak, or who aren't here anymore, right? And it's a way for us to bring everybody together. So please take action. Let us know if you have any questions, and we're on a mission with you. And until we do the next webinar, keep your eye out for that, because we're again going to be doing many different webinars to try to empower people, you know, ways that you can improve your family, your community, and be independent and be strong. And it's going to be really, really powerful. So thank you all. And the power of one, it matters.
And I'm going to leave you with this. Remember that love is not a passive verb. It is an action. Love manifests best in action, right? So it's not enough to say, I love you, show it in what we do. And what we do is we step out, we step in front of the danger, especially for those we care about most. And I want to really thank you guys for taking your time out of such busy days, especially leading up to Christmas. So God bless you all. And again, please connect with us. Go on the website. I'm going to pop my email address quickly here into the chat before I shut off. And again, if anybody wants to ask any questions, you know, as people start to file off, please feel free. We'll stick around for another few minutes. So there's my email address if you'd like to. That was sent directly to Elaine. So I'll do it again there because I'm so tech savvy. All right. So that's my email address in the chat. Please feel free to connect with me if you'd like. And again, I'm happy to send the PowerPoint, and we'll see about trying to get that posted on the website as well for anybody who wants any of the information on there. And we'll stick around for a few more minutes if anybody wants to ask questions. Otherwise, we're done for tonight. So thank you again. God bless you and have a very Merry Christmas.
Good night.